Hello, and welcome to New Beginnings Start Today, the podcast for people who want to grow deeper in their faith in the Lord. I'm your host, Dr. Douglas Keffer, a minister, licensed clinical pastoral counselor here in Roanoke, Virginia, and I have a passion to help people live their faith. Today, we will talk about finding your refuge in today's world, and how you can trust that the greatest source of safety is in God's care for your life. Let's look at this. I can remember my grandparents talking about feeling so safe where they lived and with their neighbors that they never locked their doors when they had somewhere to go. That was the practice of my parents for years as well. I grew up in a very conservative community about an hour from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I don't remember hearing about criminal activity that would go on in our area. I can't remember hearing about any killings, bank robberies, murders, or any kind of drug problems. I went to a large high school that was integrated with 17% of the kids being black. I had many friends that were black, and they considered me to be their friend as well. I could go to the cafeteria to eat lunch and sit down with my black friends that I had classes with, that I sang in the concert choir with, and I would ride the bus home with them, and I never felt threatened. I am saying that my world growing up was a place that I felt safe in, and my neighborhood was truly a refuge for me and my family. I am sad to say that this is no longer the case in the world that I live in. It is not the case in the city I live in here in Virginia. I look at the headlines of our local newscast in the morning on my tablet and say to my heartkeeper, there's been another shooting, there's been another murder in the Northwest, the war zone. This is the area of our city that I had my counseling practice in for nearly 28 years. This is the sad case for our city. What is so disturbing is when the story reads, no arrests have been made at this time. Scary times that we are living in. Living in the day that we live in today, with all the licentiousness, many are asking, where can I find safety today? Pardon me, where can I feel safe today? Let me begin to answer that very important question by sharing what King David wrote. He said, "Keep me safe, my God, for in you I take refuge." Psalm 16:1. David knew that there was evil all around him as the heathen nations wanted to wage war against him at all times. He knew that the source of his refuge was in the belief that God himself was going to keep him and his people safe, and he became their refuge. David found his safety in the his relationship with God. There was hope. He was able to cope with all the threats that he faced every day. This is the same way we are going to have to live our lives in such days as we live. The reason we face such precarious times is simply people do not acknowledge God as the source of their refuge. I am thinking of a former client that really did not trust anything that the government was doing. The way that he wanted to keep himself and his family safe was to build a cement vault in his basement. He ordered a customized vault door with a lock that worked like a bank vault. He put the weapons that he had bought that was like having an arsenal. Thousands of rounds of ammunition and food rations and bottled water that would last for a very long period of time. This is how he believed that he could keep himself and his family safe when everything around him would decline and anarchy would take over in this land. He does not believe if this could happen, he believes when this will happen. I have to say that I believe more and more people are taking this mindset and are feeling less safe in their environment. Then there are those who believe their refuge is in the wealth that they can accumulate in gold. They believe that our country is not going to be financially secure with the amount of spending that our government is doing. My mind finds it hard to fathom that our military is spending $1 billion on the newest jet fighter. They say we have to do this to be superior in our military strength for the rest of the world to see us that way. The joke is when asked, how are we going to pay for that? The answer our politicians give us, we'll just print more money. Finding security in what possessions we can accumulate has never given us a sense of safety. Usually, the more that the person has, the more they want. Listen to what King Solomon says about this philosophy when he wrote, "Will you set your eyes on which is not? For riches certainly make themselves wings. They fly away like an eagle toward heaven." Proverbs 23 and verse 5. I have sat with people over the years who could buy and sell me all day long if they wished. I had the ominous responsibility to share with them that their riches could not bring them joy or a sense of security because of how they viewed their circumstances. I would always point them back to their need to trust God for the resolve to what they were facing and encourage them to start by trusting God with their lives. Their wealth would make themselves wings. They fly away like an eagle toward heaven. If that is all they saw as important and trustworthy in their lives. As children of God, we have to find a strength and confidence that only comes by us fearing God. The fearing part is truly us believing that He is a constant in our lives. Listen to King Solomon's admonition when he wrote, "In the fear of the Lord there is strong confidence, and his children will have a place of refuge." Proverbs 14 and verse 26. As I write this podcast, the 2024 Olympics are taking place in Paris, France. I saw two young men competing for the gold in swimming, sitting on the side of that huge pool with their heads bowed, and one of the young men was praying. They were putting their fear of the Lord into practice by knowing that they were going to do their best to win the gold because God was giving them their confidence that all that training was going to be used for His glory. I don't know the outcome of their competition, but I do know that when they hit the water and swam the event, they were doing it for God's glory, and that was all they needed to know. Living life in this context brings a joy and confidence as God's children that the world needs to see. I want you to think about, and his children will have a place of refuge for your life. Where is that place of refuge? There are multitudes of people who do not even know what that phrase means. Their safe place is something they only hope for. And most of the time, they are very disappointed because their circumstances gets them so overwhelmed. They do not have any hope for a better tomorrow than what they experience today. There is no wonder we see the evil in this world, and for many it seems that Satan is winning. That is a lie that he wants us to believe because he knows that the time he has to do his evil is coming to a close. After all, God is going to send his son Jesus back to claim us, his church. Listen to Jesus' promise to you that have that strong confidence in your relationship to him when he said, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me, and I give them eternal life, and they shall never perish, neither shall anyone snatch them out of my hand. My Father, who has given them to me, is greater than all, and no one is able to snatch them out of my Father's hand. I and my Father are one." John 10, verses 27 through 30. I want you to believe that Jesus has given you this promise, and I will give them eternal life, and they shall never perish. This is a confidence you can live by as you learn to hear the Lord's voice more clearly and trust your relationship with him. When you stop and think about the promise that Jesus is giving, you begin to understand being his disciple, you can take refuge in the fact that nothing this world throws at you is going to separate you from that bond you have with your master. Jesus was talking to the religious leaders of his day, and all they wanted to do is discredit him as being the Son of God. Jesus himself took refuge in the fact that he knew that I and my Father are one. The world wants to have you disbelieve these truths that allow you to find a joy in life, that allows you to live each day victoriously. You can go to the Father, to the Lord in prayer and beg them for those things that you need them to help you with, and have the confidence that they hear you just as God does. He can watch, you can watch these things unfold that you need his help with, and know that you see the blessing of the outcome because you have the confidence that it was his love and care for your life that made it happen. Then you have to quiet yourself and lift your spirit to him with thanksgiving that he has blessed you beyond all that you can imagine. King Solomon sums it up by with what having the fear of the Lord gives you when he with his word. My son, do not forget my law, but let your heart keep my commands. for length of days and long life and peace they will add to you. Proverbs 3, verses 1 and 2. Living with this kind of faith gives you the confidence to live our lives in obedience to God's commands according to His law. I take refuge in the promise God gives us when He says, for length of days and long life and peace they will add to you. What a refuge God gives us. Thank you for listening to this episode, and I want to invite you to contact me and share how you are finding a refuge or safety in your world by having confidence in your relationship with God and with Jesus. Answer this question. How has God been your refuge in what you have had to deal with in your life lately? If you are seeing this on YouTube, please click the subscribe button and the like button. Also, click on the share button and share it with all your friends. That would be so helpful to me. Tell me about the issues that you would like me to address by leaving your comments, and you can email me at drdouglaskeffer@gmail.com. I also encourage you to get a copy of my book, New Beginnings Start Today with God, and it's on Amazon. Click on the link below. Until next time, God bless each of you.